That's not the case for these other categories of worker. If they work without a right to work, if their leave to remain has expired in the UK, for example, and they continue to work, then they will commit an offence in their own right, but the consequences will not carry through to the business. So although it's good practice to carry out right-to-work checks in respect of all workers involved in a business, it's only strictly necessary from a right-to-work perspective in relation to employees and apprentices. This is a consequence of the legislation. So in respect of civil penalties, one can see that the language here is one of employment, so it's contrary to the section to employ an adult subject to immigration control if he's not been granted leave to enter, or, for example, his leave has ceased. So that applies only to employment, and employment is defined in the immigration legislation, and this is reflected in the Employment Rights Act as well, that employment equals employment under a contract of service or apprenticeship. But importantly here, it says that whether it's express or implied, or whether oral or written. And the reason this is important is that although ostensibly individuals who are in one of these four categories may appear not to be employees, it may be the case that they are or would be deemed to be employees in the eyes of the law, for example, because they've become de facto employees. And if they do not have the right to work, and if right to work checks have not been conducted to create a statutory excuse, then there would be exposure to the business. And one does see this in respect of contractors in particular, but also in respect of self-employed individuals who are deemed by the Home Office to be employees, whereas from the business's perspective, they were thought to be self-employed and therefore not requiring right-to-work checks from the business's point of view. In fact, I have successfully challenged a civil penalty brought on this basis, in which I was able to establish no, they were not in fact employees. They were self-employed at the material time. But nevertheless, there's a risk there, or potential trap for businesses.